Right, and it's awesome that you say that because that's something that I'm using now as I'm starting to get into long distance running. People are like, "Well, why would you do that? Like, that's so hard." But to me, it's easy because I can use the stuff from my past and pain and go to this dark place and focus on that, and then the running is just an escape. Um,
Welcome to another episode of The Michael Maloney Show, where we take you on a journey around the world, exploring the stories of successful individuals and learning from their achievements and struggles. Join us as we delve into the why and how behind their accomplishments and discover how to live a more fulfilling life.
Dylan, I first met you in college.
yeah,
It would have been either at community college or UNI. I cannot remember, but we had several classes together, and we just ended up. I mean, we've just always gotten along. You're just a cool guy, laid back, hard worker, and I think that's a lot of why we've been able to get along so well. You know, we run into each other at the bars, and every once in a while, more frequently back in the day when we were at the bar more often, obviously. But yeah, man, just a good all around dude, and Dylan and I think we were talking probably 3 or 4 months ago, and maybe even a little bit longer. Gosh, it seems maybe it has been a longer, but we talked about the podcast, and I'm like, Dylan, let's get you on here. I'd love to hear about your story, and it's inspiring to hear what you've gone through, and what you're doing with your life nowadays. So,
yeah, man.
Dylan, who are you, man? Where do you live? What's up?
So I'll just kind of start from the beginning. I got all kinds of notes, and I probably won't even use them. But um,
It's nice to have
I
something
guess
to think about or ahead of time.
right. Um, I guess if I'm starting from the beginning to really know who I am, it starts from when I was born, and and it's kind of a catalyst of who I am now due to circumstance and the way I've changed. But my biological father ended up not being a part of my life, um, and so I had a different dad that raised me. And growing up, that was, I felt like a lot of rejection, or like I wasn't good enough. And this isn't an indictment on
Just
my
because your
biological.
dad wasn't around, is that what you mean?
Yeah, like the biological parent not being around, feeling like you aren't good enough, and thank God we've reached out to each other in the last year and have a relationship now and been able to straighten
Wow.
things out and learn about each other. Um, but for 26, 27 years of my life, it's just been this giant resentment, I guess. And again, it's not an indictment on them. They thought they were doing the right thing. I thought I was doing the right thing, but it turns out neither of us were doing the right thing. Um, so
Wow.
I had a dad that did raise me, and down the road he ended up passing away from cancer. So again, it was like this constant rejection. Like I wasn't good enough. I didn't deserve to have a
So
father
your
figure.
biological mom found somebody and got married, right? And then
Yep.
and then you're just saying that he unfortunately passed from cancer.
Hmm.
And then since then you've been able to reconnect with your biological dad?
Yeah. Uh, I
Wow.
mean, so I was probably 3 when the biological parent left my life, and the same time when my stepdad, who is my dad, came into my life, and then
Sure.
he would have passed away when 2014. It's almost 10 years now already, which is crazy to think about. And then in the last
Wow.
year, I reconnected with my biological parent. Um, so yeah, the biggest thing for me growing up was rejection. I was a bigger kid. I'm still a bigger guy. So I was bullied a lot. I just never felt like I fit in. Um, and I'm no better or different than anybody else. There's all kinds of people that don't have a parent or a father figure or get bullied or whatever. Um, but it's just the adversity that I faced at that young of an age, and I can't choose what I go through, nor can anybody else. So that's why it's special to me.
Yeah.
Um, but from an early age, it's just that rejection. Um, and I guess mistreatment from other kids, because I mean kids are ruthless. I mean, even if
Oh,
you're,
it's ridiculous.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh
So
man, it's relentless.
yeah, and I mean you have kids now, so you're probably starting to see if they get old enough to get into like kindergarten or preschool or whatever, and it can be the simplest thing, and but um, so that kind of got me started with my mindset of I just want to prove everyone wrong.
Really?
And
So,
but it,
so
yeah,
see, so that's great that you reframed it and took something bad and made it good, you know?
yeah, um, and yeah, and it's crazy because at a young age I didn't see it. It's turning a negative into a positive. It was just kind of an anger thing or whatever. But
Right.
now that I'm older and wiser and can reflect on it, it all kind of makes sense because it kind of led me to where I'm at now. Um,
Yeah, nobody ever sees it, you know, as we're going through it. Same
right,
thing. Learned a lot through the crazy, crappy shit that I've had to go through, and nothing from what it sounds like what you've had to go through, Dylan. But yeah, I mean, when you're going through it, it's like, what the hell? Why is this happening to me? Like, this is so unfair. Like, oh my God, what did I do to bring this on? But then, yeah, later on in life, at least what I've realized is everything you go through enables you to go through more. And like yeah, it just makes it easier, right? Once you've been through something, you can go through it again. You've proven to yourself that you can get through it.
right, and it's awesome that you say that because that's something that I'm using now as I'm starting to get into long distance running. People are like, "Well, why would
Oh
you
yeah.
run? Like, that's so hard." But to me, it's easy because I can use the stuff from my past and pain and go to this dark place and focus on that. And then
Wow,
running
that's awesome.
escape. Um, so
I
yeah,
haven't
so
thought about looking at it that way when I run. Like, hey, I've been through like I've never thought about pain that way. Like I've never associated the pain that I've like because you know like for me, my parents when they got divorced, I remember going down in my room and just crying. Like those are some of my deepest and lowest days, right? But
mhm,
I've never thought about associating like me going through that pain with just the amount of pain that I'm going through when I'm running because I don't know if this is how you're doing it in your mind, but to me, going on a long distance run and running, let's say it's 7, 8 miles, which by the way, I've never ran that far, but I would think going through that pain, pushing myself through it would be less pain than what I went through when I was in my room, feeling like my life was ruined and just everything was stolen from me. Is
right.
that kind of what you're saying? Like when you run, like you're like I've already been through harder. This is I can get through this. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, to me, there's nothing that will ever be. I shouldn't say ever. Losing my mom will be pretty tough whenever that day comes. But my
Yeah, yeah,
dad
for sure.
passing away, like to me, there's nothing, and it wasn't. I don't think there's ever an easy death, but he didn't, die in his sleep or something quick. It was a slow, degrading
Yeah.
time lapse of someone that he used to be to what he was before he passed away, and he was always this, big, strong, masculine father figure, and then he was a guy that I had to carry to the bathroom and help him,
Wow.
you know, go to the bathroom and get him in the shower and clean him. Um, so yeah, you're exactly right. I use that as basically a mental block because to me, and there's obviously like David Goggins and Cameron Haynes and guys like that out there like that your mind is a muscle and you got to callous it and work it, and I see it no differently. They're on a whole nother level than me, but you know
Hey,
I
the thing
start
is
somewhere.
I challenge myself, or I think I compare myself all the time, but I try to remind myself not to. Just don't. I mean, you're a badass. Like just the fact that you went through that and you're applying it to your life, you're no different than them. You know,
Hmm.
they're just in a position where they've created a following to where people, everybody knows about what they do. I mean, you're literally no different, and I mean, yeah, those guys are insane in the fact that they do like ultra marathons and like 100-mile races and stuff like that. But with what you're doing right now, like you said, you were doing long distance running. Who knows? Maybe you'll be doing that stuff. I mean,
So that is
they've
the
got 20
goal.
years on you.
That is the
There
goal.
you go.
Yeah, I think. right after my dad passed away, I went on maybe a 5 or 6 mile run, and that was
Whoa.
2014, 2015. And then I
And why
never
did you
really,
do that right after? Was that your out, or like was that just to get your mind off everything?
yeah. So working out has always been like a salvation to me, an escape. I always say when I'm going to the gym to lift weights and stuff, I'm going to kill my demons. Um,
Mm, I like
it,
it.
I mean,
I
it
like it.
keeps me sane, and it's funny how if you get up and work out, even if it's nothing crazy, some push-ups, sit-ups, bodyweight squats, a jog, even a walk, how much better you'll feel because you've already done so much, or even just from a physical standpoint, your body starts to feel better from moving. Um,
It does
but
make a
yeah,
big difference for sure.
yeah,
So, anyways, and I kind of got you off tangent there,
no, that's
but
fine.
that's fine. That's what's cool about this show is we just kind of talk about anything and everything around self development and our lives and what brings us to where we are. So, um, I'm sorry. So you were saying, um, I'm sorry, Dylan. Where were we at there?
I was just saying that I had ran 6 miles right after my dad passed away, and then I never ran that far really again until this spring. Uh, I decided I was going to run a half marathon, and I had some issues from COVID, which I won't go down that rabbit hole. Um, but long story short, half my body was going numb last fall, and so I didn't get any of the training in that I wanted to do. I wanted to be pretty prepared and ready to go, and I really only had like 3 weeks of training for this half marathon. It was like the last week of April, second to last week of April.
Man, that's tough. So you decided 3 weeks before you were gonna do it?
No, I wanted to do it. Oh, it was probably around Christmas time, New Year's time. I was like, I'd heard
Oh, you're
about it.
saying your father passed, and then you were like, "I'm gonna do this in three
No, no,
weeks."
no. So that was back in
I'm sorry.
2014. I'm talking this year. So about
Gotcha, gotcha. I'm
this
sorry.
is like present day. I'm just correlating how I'd ran that far and then never ran that far again. Um, and then going into the half marathon, I ended up only having like 3, 4 weeks of training. And the furthest I ran
That's
was one
insane.
mile. I ran 1 mile, and
Before the whole half marathon. Holy
yeah,
crap, dude.
and then showed up and ran a half marathon, and the time wasn't what I wanted, but I had a goal. I didn't hit it, so then as I was running the race, another goal clicked, and it was just like, don't walk, don't stop, just keep on moving. No matter how slow you're moving, just keep on moving, and that's a total, um, I guess, mirror image of kind of what my mindset is in life. I don't care how slow I'm moving or anything, as long as I'm just moving forward and keep on going. Um,
Yeah,
so
I
yeah.
love that.
So now this fall, the plan is to run. I think I'm gonna go for a full marathon in Des Moines. I've been running two,
Dude, do
three
it.
miles a day, so I'm just gonna go for it, see what happens. And then
When you
by the
say I
time,
think, man, just sign up for that shit. And you're not the kind of person that needs a pep talk, but so many people say, I think I'm going to, and then they never get around to scheduling it. I was thinking about myself the other day. I've usually been the kind of person where I schedule a bunch of events out because for one, I like to look forward to something. It's good for me to have
Mhm.
something on my schedule. It just motivates me. But then two, isn't it true that if you don't schedule your time, it basically just gets spent? Like we all have intentions of self improving and doing marathons or doing, like, for instance, my buddies and I, we want to do the Bix at the end of July. We still haven't signed up. This is what I mean. Lately, I haven't been doing the best about it, but it's true that if you want to really do something in life, you just need to take massive action and schedule it. Get it on your schedule, and like
No,
that's like if you really have your shit together, in my opinion, I think um, we should have our stuff scheduled out for like a year in advance, like the events, the main events, the stuff that we need to go to push ourselves forward to really harness our potential. And like I said, I'm fully admitting right now that I am not in full practice of this. I've got a million irons in the fire, and it's been really hard for me to stay 100% focused. I'm just being real. I mean, there's just been a lot going on, so I've kind of gotten out of sync when it comes to events and going to things. But like what I was talking, like with your marathon, man, just and like I said, I don't think you need a pep talk. This is more for anybody listening. Just schedule it, get it scheduled, get it on the paper, because then if you don't, all of a sudden there's going to be an event that pops up and you're going to go to it, or maybe the night before there's going to be an event that pops up. But if you have that thing on your calendar, you're going to plan around it, and it's gonna happen. Just my 2 cents. Like I said, I'm kind of a hypocrite because I haven't been fully using that, but anyway.
Right
So
on.
you want to do a full marathon at the in the fall? That's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean that will be tough, because I mean I had no idea what I was getting myself into with the half marathon. I started out the gate with the front of the pack with all these guys and girls, for that matter, that ran it in an hour and a half, and just slowly but surely I just started falling back, and I was like, I can't keep this pace. Somebody's gonna scrape me off the road. But uh,
I hear you, man.
oh, it was brutal.
I
But
ran a 5K a few weeks ago, and same thing.
yeah, see, and a guy that I work with for teaching, he's like, "So did you run a 5K or something to practice for the half marathon?" I was like, "No." He's like, "You're out of your mind." Uh, but yeah, I have full intentions to run that run that race in the fall. It's just I'm debating on whether I want to do another half marathon or a full marathon, and I'm leaning towards full. No matter what, I'm running something. But but I agree with what you're saying. You just got to sign up for it, schedule it, and do it. Because for me, it holds me
Yeah,
accountability of having that goal in mind and working towards something. So
training
yeah,
for it
yep.
for sure. So so really everything in your life up until now, all the struggle, everything is enabled you. Well, in some sort, like running was your out, or it was like your place to go and just be free and think to yourself, right? Or just like you said, fight your demons. And 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 do you think that's why you're able to? Is that why you're so into running and why you're trying to make that such a part of your life now?
Um, a little bit. So there's been more adversity in my life. Obviously, uh, one of the biggest things I always wanted to do was play college football, and that didn't pan out. And that was a hard pill to swallow because I kept on trying no matter what. I didn't care if I had to walk on. I didn't care if I didn't start, play, whatever. I just wanted to be on the team, and be a part of a group of guys. And I just loved the sport. And it didn't work out. My body kept on telling me no, even though my mind was, or maybe my heart even more, was telling me yes. Um, because again, that just working out and I don't know, the camaraderie of being in a gym with guys, that's something that's always been a part of my life. And
Sure.
it was never
Yeah,
really
it's a lot of
running, it
people
was
seek
mainly
that.
weightlifting. Because, the weightlifting aspect, I think, got started probably when I was like 4 or 5. I saw Terminator 2 with my mom and dad. And when
Yeah.
I saw Arnold, it was just, I mean, he's the background on my laptop. I mean, that dude, what he's done, flaws and all, I mean, it would take most people 15 lifetimes to do what he's done. So, uh, yeah, so that's probably where the start of that has been in terms of weightlifting and working out. Um, but it's just been, I've been plagued with injuries. So in high school, I blew my knee out and had to have pretty serious knee surgery. And that was probably when I should have read the silver lining that football isn't going to work, but I wanted it so bad and kept on fighting towards it.
Yeah, you were
Um,
passionate. You really wanted to make it happen.
mhm. And around the same time as when my dad passed away, and I was going to school and he got sick, community college, and quit school and was working full time and helping them pay bills and stuff like the mortgage because my mom couldn't go to work. She was, you know, home care for my dad because he didn't want to be in a hospital. And after he passed, I was like, I want to get my degree, finish what I started. And he always told me, I don't care what you do in life. I just don't want you to do what I did for a living. He was like a commercial roofer. So like he put a lot of the Menardses in the Midwest. He put the roofs on those, and
Okay.
so yeah, he was always pretty proud of that. So that's cool. Um,
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
yeah, so I was like, I'm gonna get my degree. And even at a young age, I never knew what exactly I wanted to do, but I always wanted to have my own business, something that was mine. That if it failed, it was on me. If it succeeded, it was on me. Good or bad, it was all on me, on mine. Complete ownership. Um, just
American
something.
dream, right? I mean, yeah, it's yeah, it's like the most sought after thing, I think, to be able to run your own business. And yeah, it's pretty amazing for sure. So good for you for going after that. So you
So
got all the way through college, and obviously went through some hardship during that. So kudos to you, by the way. That's amazing. I had no idea. That's when we met. I had no idea all that was going on.
yeah,
Um,
and
so
so
so yeah, go ahead.
uh, when I was at UNI and we met, I can't remember exactly what class it was, but it was
Yeah,
definitely
me neither.
UNI. Yeah.
Isn't that
uh,
crazy? Don't remember what
yeah,
class. It's like if you don't remember what class it was, it's like you definitely don't remember what you learned in that class. It's like college it's such a joke, but
yeah. Uh,
anyways, sorry.
so I was like, I need to get a business degree of some sort, so I could use that to parlay into my own business. And I've always been good at math, so I went down the financial management route. And it was around this time I met somebody in a class as well that was he was in the Marine Corps and then was going into the Navy, and it kind of got my mind rolling about the Navy. And I have family members that were in the Navy, and then my grandpa and his brother were to me World War II heroes. Uh, my grandpa was got a
Oh,
Purple Heart, 2 Bronze Stars in World War II, and his brother was a POW in a Nazi camp and escaped.
oh wow.
Um,
Holy shit.
so I was like, it's in my blood to, serve. I'll just do that. Like that just seems like the logical thing to do. It's not my own business, but if I can go from college to that and do something in my life, that'd be awesome. So then that's what I was working towards. Um, and I was like, I couldn't be a college football player, but what would the equivalent be in the Navy? And I was like, well, Navy SEALs. And everyone kept on telling me like, oh, you can't do it. It's so rare. It's so hard. The attrition rate. And it's true. All those things are true, but that just made me want it even more. Again, it was like this rejection. You can't do it. This common theme that's gone on through my whole life. So that's what I started working towards. I got accepted into the Navy, did all that stuff right after I graduated. And then I was into late entry because I was helping my mom remodel her house. And so I was running on my own, working out, and boom, tore my Achilles tendon. And so then the Navy was like, that's pretty tough. If you came back and something happened again, you get a medical and we'd have to discharge you. So would you rather do that down the road or just we send you packing now? And I was like, I don't know how long this is going to take to heal. I don't want you guys to invest any more in me. And, by the time this is all healed, like, I don't know where I'm going to be at physically or mentally. So let's just,
Yeah.
go our own ways and call it that. So that's uh, where another dream got crushed, and I had a little bit of failure and setbacks. And that was tough, but I was like, well, I got that business degree. I can fall back on it.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I didn't have the best grades. I was probably the living embodiment of C's get you to degrees, or however that saying goes. And it's not a lack of trying, but that's not how I learned. I've never been a book student or a memorizer or whatever. I'm more hands-on and practical. So
I'm with you.
the my claim to fame is I applied to like 65 jobs in the Eastern Iowa area, Iowa City, Cedar Rapids, Waterloo, Cedar Falls. and I got one interview and didn't get the job. So I was like, well, business obviously isn't going to work out for me because, um, I don't know what more I can do than that. Kind of, I was applying to jobs that I was overqualified for, underqualified for, you name it. And that led me to running into somebody that asked me what I was up to. And he said, "You still don't have a job after all this school and whatever?" Because he kind of knew what I'd been through with my dad and school and all that. And I was like, "No." And he's like, "You should try welding." And I was like, "Man, I did it in high school my freshman year and hated it because it was, I didn't have the best teacher and the equipment was poor and just the setup was outdated and it was what it was." But I just kept it in the back of my head. And time went on, and I was talking to my mom, and at this point, I felt like a loser. I'm living in my mom's basement, out of college, no job, and she's like, "What are you gonna do?" And I was like, "The only other thing I think I have is to try welding school." And she's like, "Well, you'd probably be good at it. You've always worked with your hands or whatever." And she's like, "When does it start?" And I was like, "I think classes start when they normally do in August." And she's like, "That's like in 2 weeks." So I was like, "Well, I guess I better get the ball rolling." So I think like
Yeah.
later I had an orientation or whatever and signed up for classes. And next thing I know, I was off at a place I'd never been to. And
Wow, man. Good for you.
yeah, yeah, it was a struggle at first because I felt like a fish out of water. Um, just being like in a night class and having to drive and just the way it was set up was what I wasn't used to. I was used to like being in a classroom and lectures, and it's not that that was a bad thing. This is everything that I always wanted. It was all hands on. And the first class I had, the teacher wasn't the best, so I was like, "Oh man, here we go again," just like in high school. But
What am I getting myself into?
yeah, right. So I just kept on working at it, and slowly but surely, I just started picking things up. And I got through that first class with that teacher, and had a different teacher. He was way better, and then boom, just a light bulb went off, and it clicked, and I was just like, "Holy shit! This is what I was meant to do the whole time." It took me forever to find
Wow.
it. Like I found it. Like there's no other way.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah. Like in it, looking back on it, there really is no other way. If I wouldn't have gone through everything that I went through, I would have never gotten to that point because I was at my last option, crossroads, whatever you want to call it. If everything would have went my way, if my dad was still alive, I wouldn't be where I was at. And
Wow.
yeah, so that got me into welding school, and it's basically like a straight A student, head of the class, got a half scholarship. The second year was fully paid for. Um, and
What a
that's stuff I'd
blessing.
never, yeah, that's stuff I'd never experienced before. I was never a great student. I wasn't bad, but B's, few A's, few C's, nothing crazy. So yeah, that got me to
Yeah.
welding. Um, and then once that kind of started to pick up, I was like, okay, I found what my calling was. I think I can parlay this into that business degree, and I know what my business can be finally after all this time. Then it was just a matter of how do I do it, when do I do it, and so on and so forth.
But then, so is this the point when you started Kev's Customs, the welding shop?
Not quite. So I finished welding school, and then I got a welding job up here in Cedar Falls, and that was when I had my first, setback in welding, and I was just like, oh man, like I started doubting myself. Um, I enjoyed making what the company made, and I won't say the company just so I don't burn any bridges or whatever. I think they know that I was ready to leave there when I left. Um, but just a very like good people there, but a toxic culture. Um, and it's pretty hard to rally the troops when you have that real toxic environment going on and get stuff done.
Yeah, for sure.
Um, and I just, you know, I can tell when somebody's giving me a bad time or being an asshole, just because I've always been bullied, and I'm a pretty sarcastic guy and like to joke around. And a lot of guys there were like, "Oh, college boy, degree in welding, and you think you know it all? Like you're the big shot. Let's see what you got." And I was good, and I don't think they liked that, but they always gave me a bad time, and I got accused of stealing and stuff there, and
Oh,
a lot
jeez.
of things in a lot of things in life, but I'm not a thief. Um,
For
and if
sure.
I did take something,
So,
I'd be
so
like,
not
"Yeah,
the best first experience.
no." I hated my job, and this is like right when COVID's starting, so all that stuff's going on, and the gyms are closed, so I don't have that escape to go lift weights and everything. I have a lot at home. Excuse me. And so I was like, maybe welding isn't for me. I started doubting myself, and luckily I have a pretty good support team behind me, with my mom and my wife, and um, they're like, you want to do your own business. At some point, you need to just make the leap and do it. Get out of that place before it wears you into powder. Um,
Yeah, right.
and I was like, I get that. I agree with you guys, but we got expenses and bills. And then all of a sudden, uh, I get a phone call from a guy that taught me at Kirkwood for welding, that was like the head of the program. And he's like, "Hey, would you be interested in teaching welding?" I was like, I've never thought about it. I'm not a teacher. I've coached football before, volunteered coaching, and that was all right. But I've never like taught in a classroom setting. And he's like,
Well,
"Oh,
so
I think
this the phone just rings with an
what's
opportunity to go teach people. Awesome.
yeah, yeah." So, uh, I was pretty on board with it because they told me hours and um, what it entailed, and compensation, which I everyone's like, "Oh, you just do it for the money," and it's like, no, I enjoy what I'm doing, but yeah, like I have bills just like you, man. Like I gotta pay the mortgage, I gotta pay my taxes, so yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
Um, I've never understood that saying, "Oh, you do it just for the money," or "must be nice" to campaign saying. But anyway, um, so I'm like, yeah, let's do it. I went and did an interview with them after I left work at this other job, and they told me I wouldn't start until April 1st of that year, and it was probably February at that time. And the wife and I, well, girlfriend at the time, talked, and should I quit? Should I stay? Do we have enough money? What do you think? Because I'm definitely going to do the teaching thing. And she's like, "We'll get through it. You need to quit." So the next day I went in, put in my 2 weeks, and then I was out of there. And then luckily
So at this time, were you just teaching, or did you already have like the logo and the Kev's Customs idea? Did you have like your own equipment yet to be able to weld for hire, that kind of stuff?
I had bought a welder a few months before in gas, but I hadn't done um, anything else.
Okay,
The I think
cool. So,
I
so you quit the job.
Yeah, so it was like right when I quit the job, either before or right when I did was when I started like coming up with the logo and everything. Um, and it reminded me to talk about that logo because it's pretty important for what it is. Um, and then once I was done working there, I had a part-time job that worked with me when I was in welding school and was a family friend, which I still work at now, um, while I'm getting this business thing going. And that kind of helped us get bridge that gap till I started teaching, and been doing both those since. And the biggest thing I've noticed with
Heck yeah.
teaching is the leadership aspect. I never saw myself as a leader. Not that I was always a follower, but the ability to take these students that are anywhere from 18 to 45, and they have all different backgrounds, ethnicity, economic, intelligence, schooling, you name it, criminal backgrounds, and get them all to work together as a team because I try to get the class to be a lot like a work setting. I make it fun, but you guys are trying to do this to go get a job, so I want you to have realistic expectations.
Damn
And
right.
that's been a challenge, and it seems like every time I get done with the class, I go back to the drawing board and I edit my syllabus, I edit, my notes, how I do stuff. Um, so yeah, just that leadership of being able to take this big like potluck and cast of characters and get them to do what I want them to do. Um,
Good
that's
for you,
been
man. That's awesome.
yeah, it's been enlightening because there's people that you can kind of tell they're not super committed. They're just doing it to say they did it, which is fine. I can't make them want it any more than what they want it. But then there's people where you can see that like this is actually changing their life, and they're gonna go get a job. They have some skill and a work ethic,
Yeah,
and they're gonna get more a better paycheck for their family, feed their family or whatever. And to me, that's so gratifying. On top
for
of being
sure.
able to do everything else that I am doing with my own business, so that's been a blessing to say the least.
No, and you're definitely a great leader. You care about improving. Like you said, you go back and edit the syllabus and are constantly taking notes on how to properly handle everybody and, teach things the right way. I mean, that's awesome. It's sad. You probably find that more in the trades. You might find that less in the more mindy, um, like some of the classes we took in the business school where the teachers are literally just teaching from the textbook. They don't give a shit. They just give you hard ass tests. They barely even care if you answer questions or ask questions. They just want to lecture you and you're out the door. Where
Right.
I've found at least in high school, I didn't take many trade classes in college. No, nothing against it. That's just not what I was doing. But I remember it just seems like you find more of those teachers who are actually into really pouring into the students just because it's like I think it's because it's a skill and like it's easy to know when that person leaves like in woodworking or autos if they don't know how to do anything because in that class you literally have to learn how to do it with your hands, right? or
Right.
or like it's just easy to know if they don't leave with a skill. Is I guess kind of what I'm trying to say, and not to bash other teachers either, because I know there's other like language arts and science and history teachers that, and what I was more or less originally referring to like business teachers that do care, but there are quite a few more I think that don't, compared in the skilled trades compared to the skilled trades, anyways. But
Yeah, I agree.
so yeah,
One of my
sorry, go ahead, man.
yeah, one of my best teachers in high school was a trades teacher, industrial tech, whatever, and I'm still pretty close with him now.
Same.
And just a great guy, and he actually made us this awesome custom like wine box for our wedding, and
Mm.
she thought he bought it. And I was like, no, like he handmade that. It's insane. I'll send you pictures of it. It's nuts.
Wow,
But it's just
that's
like that
cool.
kind of skill and passion and I guess care. Because like you could tell even at 15, 16, 17 when you thought you knew it all, but you really didn't, that like this guy cares. He's like really trying to teach you something, not just here's the information, learn it, here's a test. And so I kind of use that as a mold for what I'm doing, more or less, or an outline, I guess. Like I'm
Awesome.
not trying to trick the students. I actually want them to learn it and be able to use the stuff to apply to whether it's a welding job they get or something else. Because I've had students that come through the class and they're pretty good at welding, but they ended up not getting a welding job. They get a job doing something else, and so hopefully they can take something from it.
Yeah, right. Well, I would think they'd be able to take a lot from it. I mean, like you said, if they're not doing it professionally, it's still one of those things where it's an amazing thing to know any trade. I think it should be more. Um, I don't remember when I was talking about this, but sometime recently I was talking to I think it was a high school buddy about just how auto trades, wood trades, welding trades, all that. I mean, welding is kind of more specific. Even woodwork's kind of more specific. But like autos, I think should be mandatory because everybody drives a car, right? And you hear
Mhm.
people getting screwed all the time by the mechanics, charging way too much or doing things that don't need to be fixed or whatever. But then like woods, like for instance, I own rental properties. I've with my business, I've had to do woodwork. If I didn't do those certain classes, I wouldn't have been as able. The skills that I learned in those classes have enabled me to be more able out in my life, which makes it less. It takes fewer resources, external resources, to get everything done that I need to get done, and which makes it easier to get things done. Allows you to build a faster, more momentum because you're able to self perform things. I mean, now sure, now that we've got a few properties, we hire some things out, but when you're trying to get going, it's the more able you are, the better. Like sometimes I'll
Mhm.
think about what it would be like to be stuck on an island for the rest of your life. And it's like some people will be screwed. Some people don't know how to cook, they don't know how to clean, they don't know how to build, they don't, all these different things. Like the more able you are, if you think about it, if you're stranded on an island, the better off you are, the more able you're going to be on this earth too. So it's definitely worth it. And I admire you for being passionate about giving back and teaching other people how to do it. And like you said, there's a whole array of different people that you're teaching, from older adults that have their shit together to teenagers that are just out of high school. Like it's that's amazing. And I'm sure it's difficult at times, but how do you keep yourself sane when things go a little crazy?
Um,
Like if a student's kind of just being like a pain in the ass type deal, you know what I mean?
so the way um, the biggest thing I do is I make it a point in class if there's something that I ask them to do, whether it's uh, book work, like coming to class prepared, having read something, or getting in a booth and welding or cleaning or moving something or do whatever, like I will go do it as well. I'll be right in there with them, helping them or
Sure.
coming prepared.
By example.
Yeah, so I'm not asking them to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. So then that way I kind of put it on them if they're going to be difficult. Then, you know, there's a quote that you've probably heard it, maybe some people haven't. And I think it's really relevant to some people. It kind of opens their eyes, I guess. But if everywhere you go it smells like shit, it's probably you. That one. Have you heard that?
I haven't heard that one.
Yeah.
No.
So if
Yeah.
everywhere you go you're finding something bad or all the this is dumb or like negativity, I guess, or always find a problem in something, it's yeah, there could be a chance that you've had a few things in a row that don't work out. I mean, look at me, I've had all these failures, but if it's
Yeah. Right.
always that negative outlook, it's probably you. So I
It's
kind
the
of make
outlook thing. Yeah, right. Yeah,
I try to
100%.
make
Even if
them.
even if crappy stuff's happening to us, sometimes like we need to train ourselves to find the silver lining. Like, what is good from this? Like, and I get it. It's hard. Like, dude, you went through some crazy stuff. It'd be really hard, to find the silver lining in that stuff. But now going now, and like I'm sure you missed the hell out of your stepdad. And like you said, he's basically your real dad. He brought you up, but
Mhm.
like can you admit that you've grown and that you've become a stronger man, and you've probably been able to create more in your life now because of the situation that you had to go through losing your father? I mean, and maybe that's so hard to admit, but and that's a hard question to answer, but do you see what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's good that's come from it.
Yeah, no, there's definitely been good that's come from it, and it was tough to see that at first. I mean, I even had to like go get therapy because I always thought,
Oh,
oh,
I'm
I'll just
sure.
like stonewall, show no emotion. I got to be the rock that kind of holds the family together, and my family is already kind of dysfunctional. But
Every family is. Dude.
right, and
So yeah.
so it it was kind of a moment where my dad passing away showed like the true colors of some people, and I just kind of had to
Mm,
go my own way. I can't cater. and support everyone else. I got to take care of me and my mom to a certain extent because she had to keep on remind me, like you got to go do your thing. I can take care of myself. Um, but yeah, no,
Wow.
definitely good that came from that. And I was 21 when he passed away, but I went from 21 to like 45. Like I had to become a
Yeah.
man. And I
Hmm.
certainly, am not perfect by any means. And after that, I still had fun and did dumb stuff, but it was just the approach to life that, uh, you know, I guess my eyes were open to how fragile our time is here because he was only
Wow.
49 when he passed away. So a lot of people, and I'm even guilty of it, sometimes just we go through the motions, whether it's a slow
Yeah.
day or it's hot out or you're tired or whatever, and you go through the motions and man, like it was a crappy day, but you're going home from work and you could get hit, and that's all she wrote, and you wasted that day, and you never know. Um,
Wow.
and
No,
so
that's deep, man.
that was a lesson I had to learn at a pretty young age. And again, I got to keep on saying this because it's so true. I don't think I'm any better than anybody else, but maybe I'm more relatable than some other people. Um, and everything that's happened in my past that's been bad, I don't hold like ill will towards people that bullied me or that I had a falling out with. It kind of is what it is. Um, there's a George Strait song called "Easy Come, Easy Go." I don't know if you've heard that, but
Yeah, for sure. I couldn't
so
sing it, but yes, for sure.
yeah, I couldn't sing it either. But that's just kind of the way I've tried to start taking things. Um, just kind of let it roll off my back. It is what it is. It didn't work out. You just got to keep on moving forward. It's not your fault. It's not
Well,
the
and
other person's fault. Like,
before we continue, I'd like to take a moment to share something I'm passionate about with you. If you're someone who is constantly striving for personal growth and loves surrounding yourself with other motivated individuals, you're going to want to hear about this. Check out growthgroupinc.com. This is an exclusive community made up of high achievers and dynamic entrepreneurs just like you. It's a space where like minded individuals come together, collaborate, and support each other on their own journey to success. Growth Group is more than just a community, it's a collective mindset, a commitment to getting better every single day. We believe in the power of connection, collaboration, and constant growth, and we're confident that being part of this community will give you an unparalleled advantage on your path to success. So take a moment, visit growthgroupincorporated.com, and join us as we elevate our lives together. Trust me, this is one investment in your future you will not regret. Now, let's get back to our conversation. Like it is what it is, but and I that's so freaking right. I mean, it literally your past is it is what it is, but even and I challenge somebody to even look into it even deeper maybe because I I truly believe our past everything in life is there to serve us. Like we mentioned earlier, when you're going through it, it doesn't seem that way sometimes, but it's like everybody always says hindsight 2020, which unless you really dig deep into a situation, you might not completely understand how it serves you or whatever. But that's why I think it's worth thinking that way, like adapting the mindset of like everything is there to serve us, because then you can then it forces you to find how you can be positive from something that was negative. Um, I say it all the time, and I feel like I'm a broken record, but it's like how can we learn from this situation, or like how could we have prevented it, or like let's say like I'm going to use your father passing away for as an example, and this I doubt this is something you learn, but like let's say you lose, or just you lose somebody really close in your life, right? And you like your father-in-law, they were 49 when they passed. It's like you said, life is really precious. So because they passed, maybe somebody would learn that, okay, let's really be present with our loved ones. Like when we're, like when we're driving down the road and that thought comes into our mind, hey, I should call my mom. And even though it's, instead of just not doing it and just turning the radio up, freaking do it. Pick up the phone and call your mom. Or like when you know, when somebody after a graduation event in front of the venues wanting to talk to you, but you're in a hurry to get out of there. Instead of getting in a hurry and cutting the conversation, like take the moment right there and talk with them and be present and hear them out and just be grateful that you have that opportunity to talk with them, because you don't know when their life might be taken, right? It's just like, how can we take anything in our lives that was negative and figure out a way to be positive, and just using that mindset. It's kind of like, it's almost like you create like this machine. Okay, imagine your thoughts are like a machine, right? And you just put your thoughts through the machine, and then you get an outcome, you know. And you just build, you write the code of this machine to force it to look at this situation from a positive point of view, and then you just take that and move forward. And the whole thought is like, yeah, bad stuff's going to happen to us in our lives, but as long as we constantly are always using that approach on everything, we're going to move forward over time, you know. And we're going to be able to keep that hardcore mindset that will keep us in a more positive state and more energized and more just grateful and joyful, and which will just allow us to show up better in our lives and just be better all around. And that's ultimately the goal, right? Is to be happy and fulfilled and passionate and excited and energetic all at the same time for as much time as our lives as we can, right? We don't want to be bogged down by all the bullshit. So it's so important that we adapt that mindset. You know,
Yeah, no,
what's
it's good.
everything is here to serve us.
So there's so Slipknot is a pretty uh, big band to me. Obviously, they're from Iowa, and one of the members, Clown, is his stage name. He had an interview. Oh God, it's probably been 10, 12 years ago, and it was about what you just said, like being present, and he lost his parents when he was still pretty young, probably in his 30s, which is, I'm wish I could have that much more time with my dad, but that's still a young age to
Yeah,
lose parents.
totally.
And
Right.
he was just saying, there's so many times he could have just went and sat and drank coffee with his dad, or called his mom and talked to her and asked how she was doing. And he's like, all it
Yeah.
would take is 20 minutes here and 20 minutes there, and next thing you know, it's 20 minutes, 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and then they're gone. All it would have taken was 20 minutes. And that was like his hit home point in the little interview. And it was just like, that's so true. I mean, 20 minutes is nothing compared to never having that opportunity ever again,
Yeah.
whether it's mom, dad, whoever. But yeah,
Anybody.
yeah, it's awesome that you said it, because that's almost like his exact message. You just said it a little differently. So yeah, being present and just
For sure.
being around someone, and checking in on them, or whatever, even however you gotta get it to come across. Because sometimes if you haven't talked to somebody in a while and you reach out, instantly, and I'm guilty of it, I'm like, okay, what do they want? I haven't heard
Yeah.
from you. It's
Right.
like,
Right.
what are you trying to do? Um,
So something I've done, I'm once again here I am highlighting all my flaws. I I try to consistently, and when I get to where I'm doing my daily routine every single day the exact same way, I do pretty good at this. But like I've admitted, I haven't been doing as good lately. But what I like to do is send a text to one or two friends that I haven't talked to in a while, and just say, and I'm not the kind of person where I like copy and paste the same exact message to everybody.
right.
I screw that. But I'll just say, hey man, I'm thinking about you. I hope you're doing well. And depending on who it is, I'll say a personalized comment. And it's just worth. And then it's just like kind of checking in, and I just think that's so important, because then it kind of keeps the link between everybody connected. I think it's natural. At least I catch myself doing it when I don't hear from somebody for a while, or I don't, whatever. I start to think, and I don't know. For me, it's different because I grew, and maybe it's the same for you too. But I moved away from where I grew up during high school. So like, there's a large group of friends where it's like when you don't see people for a while or hear from them, you start to think that like you're no longer friends and everything. It's just like, oh, we don't associate with each other. It's just too easy to grow apart. And so just by doing that quick exercise of just sending out a message saying, hey man, I'm thinking about you, I'm rooting for you, you know, how are you doing, what do you got, what's exciting in your life right now, is there anything I can do to help, you know, just blah blah blah. And it's not blah blah blah, it's truly, it's purposeful, right? But it's
Mhm.
just a great way to just catch up. And um, you know, it goes back to what we're talking about like, you know, we don't know when people are going to be taken off this earth. And one of the common things I've really started to identify over the last couple of years is love each other. Like I really believe that as humans, as inhabitants of earth, we're our job, and as children of God, our job is to love each other, like to be here. And you know, and just, you know, love is in all, comes in all different kind of forms, you know, just holding the door for somebody, or like I was saying earlier, just having a conversation with somebody and being present and actually listening to them and asking questions that allows them to know that you're actually into them and that you're interested in what they're talking about. And just, you know, just little things like just loving each other. It's just those small things. It's just so easy, right?
Yeah. And I've always been like oh, I can't even think of what they're called, but there's like one of them is acts of service, and that's kind of what I've always been. So like, so this is kind of a outlier of an example, but back in 2011, there was this big windstorm that went through my hometown. It was like at the raid show or whatever, and
Yeah.
my dad and I had cut up all the wood in our on our property and helped a couple neighbors, and uh, we were out driving around and we went by the cemetery in my hometown, and he's just like, well, why don't we go in there and see if they need some help, because there was like some headstones that had knocked over and some down limbs and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I was like, yeah, why not? And so we go in there, and sure enough, he's like, yeah, if you guys want to help, like, I'd love it. I've been, you know, out here working for like the last 4 days straight, you know, 16, 18 hours a day. And we cut up some wood or whatever. And then there was some
Wow.
headstones that were
Just
knocked
love
down. And I
them.
mean, yeah. And it doesn't have to, you know, be actually saying, you know, like, I love you, man. But us
Right.
just going out of our
Right.
way to help that, you know, caretaker of the cemetery get some stuff picked up and put back in place and whatever, like, you know, when we didn't even have to, um, just being able to do that for someone. I mean, it might, the way I always like to look at it is, it might not mean a lot to you, but it'll mean everything to them. And
Mm.
that's true. I mean, because I felt good about it, but it just, to me, I felt like, you know, I was just taking my dad's lead. Like, we're helping somebody out. We got our stuff taken care of. Let's go see who we can help. Um,
You
and
know, I
yeah,
just thought of something, Dylan. You just caused me to think of this. Um, because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, why is love? Why do I use that word so much? And why is that the word that it boils down to? And you know, there's other things like compassion and you know, just to be caring. But the thing about being compassionate to somebody or being caring to somebody, um, a lot of times people do it because they think that they should.
hmm
They're caring or they're compassionate or they do something for somebody because they think they should, or maybe because they want to be seen as that person that's doing it, or maybe they want to even be seen by God as that person who's doing it so that they get into heaven. It's kind of like a selfish reasoning, right?
hmm
In a way, because you're kind of doing it for yourself in a way, because you follow me. It's just it's
yeah,
like it's still amazing. It's a good thing to be, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people that just do things for the reasoning of themselves being a good person, which is important. But it's all. But you also just want to do it for the general reason of being good and wanting to be somebody who contributes to society, right? Well, the thing about love is I can't, and that's what I was just thinking about so deeply. I can't think of any situation where where somebody loving somebody, and I mean truly loving them. Like I'm saying, like to the point where it's just like you love who, just that they're another person, they're a human, they have feelings, they have potential, they're capable of thought. They're just it's just beautiful specimen, right? Right in front of you. It's like you're just beautiful. It's like it's life. It's I love you. There's nothing selfish about that. It's like there's it's just pure form of like not I almost want to say I almost said love, but that's using the same word. I mean, it's pure, right? There's no way to be selfish about it, and I think there's something really beautiful in that.
Yeah, I
I
think.
just think that I've just identified that for myself, which I'm grateful for because like I said, I say that all the time that I think our job is to love each other.
Yeah, to me, since I'm more of a like an active service person, um, to me it's kind of easier to read people. Um, Not that I'm this big expert, but like if I know that I'm doing something and act for someone and I expect nothing in return, I can tell when someone else is doing it and they want something in return, whether it's a tangible
Yeah,
thing or even if it's just gratification, like, oh, that makes me feel better. Um, it's kind of easy to spot. And again, at least they're doing something positive, but you can,
exactly, and that's what and 100%. I'm not trying to make it seem like that's bad,
right.
but it's almost like good and great, right? It's like I think as a person, you want to be a person who values being that person who gives, and so I think it's normal to feel good about or to want to feel good about it and to
Mhm.
do it for those reasons. To like, it's like okay, what are you doing Saturday? It's like, oh, do you want to come help? It's like, oh, that'd be a good thing for me to do. It's like that's good. That's awesome. But I think that the next level of emotional intelligence is like, yeah, I'm doing it just because I want to be love. You know what I mean? I think we're on the same page there. That's
Yeah.
it's deep. It's freaking amazing that we're having these conversations and that we're figuring this stuff out. At a young age, and hopefully any listeners of all ages can take this and hopefully either agree with it or maybe it's new information and you're like, wow, this is good stuff because there's something about going through life living true like truly for like with the intent to contribute more than what you take,
Yeah.
and to not be like, so yeah, it's fascinating.
I
It gives
think
you
I was
more
lucky.
energy.
I think I was lucky because even though my grandparents passed away when I was fairly young, my mom's dad, passed away when I was 4, and then her mom passed away when I was 8. I still have that little bit of time that I had with them, and they were from just a different era. The world's greatest generation, they call it. And I remember being really young. I was probably 6 or 7, and during Thanksgiving, my grandma and aunt took me to this place to go deliver and hand out meals to people, whether they're elderly or less fortunate or whatever. And I
Sure.
didn't want to.
Yeah.
I didn't want to do that. I was a 6 or 7 year old. I thought it was
Yeah.
pointless. Why can't they get their own food, or have their own meal, or why don't they have a family to go eat with or something? I didn't. I didn't. It didn't make any sense to me. And they kind of explain it to me. Not everybody is as fortunate as you are or we are. So
Yeah. Totally.
we're giving them this ability to enjoy Thanksgiving and have a meal and be thankful for something. So to me, I was lucky that I had, I guess, these role models or leadership from those grandparents at such a young age. And when I was that young and even a little bit older, like a teenager, it didn't make any sense to me. But again, you get older and you kind of reflect back on things in your life or go through like the Rolodex of events or memories in your life. And I'm not dwelling on these things, but I just sit back and think, and I kind of relearn it, like relive the experience and relearn it, and I guess reapply it to what I'm going through in present day. And I
Yeah. And
take
it
something
helps
away.
you. Yeah, yeah, it helps you like know how to handle your reactions to things. Because like I can, when I was it was like when my parents were like first, like when like the divorce was going on pretty intense, and like I was probably in like sixth grade, and I remember I don't remember what class it was in. I remember being in the class and just like wanting to cry, and just having just a terrible day. Like I just like going to school was scary because I had so many emotions going through my mind at that point that I knew I basically just had to get through it. Like it was just like
Mhm.
I literally just need to get through. And then at that time, like you, which I didn't get taunted as near as bad as some kids, thankfully, but um, I was like getting called like the giraffe. Like I was like the tallest kid in my grade, which I'm grateful for now being tall, right? That's a funny thing. But at that time, I was like, I remember coming home and crying and just being really sad and then having people taunt me or just having any little thing affect me. It gave me the perspective to understand that other people are going through those things. Like there's people like you could go right now down to Walmart and there's somebody walking around pushing a shopping cart that is going through a divorce with their significant other, or if you go to the schools right now, unfortunately divorce is so prevalent. There's kids in the classrooms going through the exact same experiences I'm talking to you about right now, where they're at home, their parents aren't getting along, they're facing divorce. You know, God forbid the cops show up because their parents are arguing and it gets out of hand. Like there's terrible shit, right? But those experiences allowed me to realize that that's how real life is, and how like you just have to treat everybody with respect and everybody kindly, and just it's you'd never know. And now maybe as an employer, maybe I'm more understanding, or like if somebody's not performing, I'm not quick to jump the gun, like, hey, why aren't you, what's going on, like why aren't you doing work like you should be, right? Maybe you learn to have that extra perspective that like, okay, maybe things outside of what are going on, just because I went through that, right? And that's why they're so valuable, all those
Yeah,
experiences.
I agree. And admittedly, I'm guilty of this sometimes. A lot of times, now that I think about it, it's so easy and quick to be able to judge someone just looking at the book cover, so to speak. And when you were talking,
It's
it just
so
made
easy,
me,
man.
yeah. And it could be something as simple as the way they're dressed, or what they're eating, what they're doing,
I
whatever.
mean,
And
it's a protective mechanism, dude. It's our
yeah,
survival brain trying to protect us. Like it literally goes out and tries to sense danger, and it's how we. Yeah, I mean, exactly. It sucks because we have like a 10 million-year-old survival brain, but we have to control it somehow, right? So it takes
right.
constant focus on that. It's really fascinating.
But no, so you were talking about being a kid in school, and there were probably other kids going through stuff. It just made me think of being like in the lunch line in like third or fourth grade, and there was a kid in front of me, and it was back when like you actually had to like give lunch money or something. I don't remember, but anyway, the kid didn't have to pay and he got food. So then like I came up and I was like, well, he didn't pay, so why should I? And
Yeah,
like thinking back on it, because now, I mean, later on, I asked my parents about it, and they're like, there's probably a kid that's on the, I don't even know what it's called, like Title IX or whatever it is that
yeah,
helps kids with
yeah.
food.
Assistance.
But yeah, just so quickly now I'm able to like recall that moment. It's just like that's probably all that kid was looking forward to, was getting that free lunch at school because he doesn't have food and he gets up in the morning or goes home, and here I was complaining that I had to pay a dollar or $2 or whatever for food, and it's
And
just
you're right. I think it's just controlling the mind. Like, they say self awareness is one of the most important traits. And I think there's self awareness in like how we show up in our conversations and like social environments. Like, if you're at a networking event, like being self aware, like not being overly obnoxious, not speaking super loud, making sure you're courteous, not interrupting, stuff like that. You want to be really good at, but then also self aware in like the way that like we're thinking, like the way that, it's important to just to consider that all the time because it's easy to go down rabbit holes. It really is.
yeah. Yeah, the longer we talk about all these different things, the more I just sit here and think of like different flaws within myself, even though I've done, a lot of cool shit in my life. So
Well,
yeah, you're definitely
well,
right.
yeah, but when you say when you say flaws within yourself, do you mean like lessons that you've learned?
A little bit, both, but just and it's not necessarily like glaring things that I would go to prison for, but just like judging people, or like sometimes I'm in a hurry and I don't hold the door open for someone, or someone might wave at me and I don't wave back, or
Dude, and that's
just
fine. That's the thing.
yeah,
Like, as long as you're, and that's great that you recognize that, because now, that's the thing. I think it's worth adapting a mentality of like, let's recognize that we're not perfect, but work towards being as good as we can be. Right? It's like don't stress about, like, don't spend too much time fretting about the way you've been. Put more energy into just adapting and trying to be better. You know, um like we've been talking about. Like I've tried to work really hard on not judging people, and just realizing that we're all human and stuff. But I do it all the time too. It's just so easy. Like I can think of an example. Like if somebody, for instance, like let's say they get like a bag of chips and they're just walking down the street and they're just chomping real loud or something. One of my biggest pet peeves. It's easy for me to think like, wow, what a pig! Like that guy is just so gross and just like whatever. But the thing is like then I'll catch myself and I'll be like, why am I thinking that way? Like that is, and I won't go into specifically where I'm like where I just thought to myself like that's a children of God, but that's another human who you have no idea what's going on in their life. It's their right to live their life the way they want. The thing about it, there's 8 billion people on this earth, so the thing about it, you don't have to hang out with everybody, right? You can kind of pick and choose who you surround yourself with. So there's no reason to judge. Just pass positive vibes and pray for people and just move on. It's just kind of that's kind of the mentality I've taken, I guess.
yeah. I
So,
always try to keep myself humble. And you were saying nobody's perfect, and trying to be better, and that's true, because it kind of goes in line with how I don't care how fast I'm moving as long as I keep on going. Like
yeah.
I don't ever expect to be perfect as long as I'm getting better, because there's only one guy that's perfect and they put him on the cross. So like
Mm.
I'll never measure up to that no matter what I
Wow,
do.
dude.
So I mean it's just and then what was I gonna say? Man, those concussions from football catch up to you.
Well, and then for how about with, like, let's do our creator. Let's make our creator happy and proud and just here. Let me. So and I've talked about this a few times on my show. I do this exercise called Wake Up,
Hmm.
where I like to think about myself walking down the road just on a nice day and a car hopping the curb and accidentally hitting me, and my life coming to an end, and me having a couple minutes to think about, like what I've done with my life, where I've spent it, who I spent it with, who I was friendly to, like all everything, just like it's a replay of my life. And it makes me think about, it makes me it re what's the word I'm looking for? It realigns. It makes sure that I'm doing everything I should, or at least that I think I can at this moment, to get to where I need to be, to where I'm harnessing my potential. Because I don't want to be that person that dies and it just has tons of regret because I didn't do what I knew I could have done. It's like, or what I think I can do. Right? I want to be that kind of person where I'm in constant pursuit of my best self, and that means being an amazing parent, being a top-notch business person, inspiring millions of people. By being financially and time, having financially and time freedom. Like I just want to, and I realize not all of those will be. I mean, they're all attainable, But if I don't attain them, that's fine. But as long as I'm seeking that sort of life, because I recognize that this world is so full of abundance, there's so much out there. So by doing that exercise, and my really it cuts down to the core. It's like, am I living my life the way I am? Am I being friendly to the people that I live my life with? Am I trying to give back? Am I healthy? Am I working on my health? Am I spending enough time with my wife, my kids? Am I being the parent that I want to be? All that stuff, and it really helps me align my daily actions with how I want to live my life. And to anybody listening, and Dylan, you too, I just highly recommend taking some time to just think about that, because it's powerful stuff, and it helps people align, like I said, their daily actions with what they want to get out of life.
No, that's a good thing to take note of. It reminds me, there was some podcast. It was probably Joe Rogan or something. That's probably the one I listen to the most. But somebody was on there, and they said that when they die, and let's say I get up to heaven, and they write a number up on a board, and it says like 67% or something like that.
Yeah.
And they're like, what does that mean? And they're like, that is what amount of potential you actually tapped of what you had with your life while you were on Earth.
Oh my God, dude, that just gave me goosebumps.
I don't want to live a life, whether it's 5% or even 91%. Like, I want to hit that 99.99, because nothing's 100% efficient.
Yeah.
And so like, that's why I'm starting to do like this running and doing things that make me uncomfortable, like this. Like, I've always been a shy introvert, bullied. Like, I don't like being in front of people, and I'm talking to you, but however many people are gonna see this, or being up in front of teaching, like doing stuff that I never thought I could do, because I get one shot at this, and I don't want to get to the pearly gates or whatever is after there. And they're just like, oh yeah, we gave you all this potential, and you could have done all these great things and helped these people and did this and done whatever that there was for me to do, and instead I only hit 60% of it, and
yeah, totally.
that would be a horrible way to live.
I think as long as you're always, like you said, I don't think 100% it's attainable, but I think as long as a person is if they are internally motivated to the point where, when they get off track, they recognize they're off track, and then they try to get back on track. Like, that's, I think it's just, if you live your life in that fashion, where it's just like a constant approach towards achieving your potential, like you're always interested. So like, if you're the next time, like, you're sitting down on the couch and you're like, man, I've been watching TV. Like, you actually are you have that drive to become your best self. You're going to be in the 90s. It's just, as long as you're constantly because like life's going to happen. Like right now, for instance, like with my wife and I, Sydney, we have 2 kids now, Cal and Conley, and running several businesses all at once. It's crazy. It's like it's like, to me, in my mind, if I was hitting all my potential, everything would be going perfect. Everything would be fully staffed. Everything would be organized. My email would be perfectly organized. Everything would be perfect. But that's the thing. That's just my own perception of what perfection is. With what I'm doing, with trying to impact a bunch of people and doing all this stuff, I am perfect. Just like you're teaching, you're running your business. You're perfect in what you're doing, because you're doing everything so that you can become your best self, so that you can help other people, so you can inspire other people. I think that's the golden nugget, is just so that, and this goes back to my exercise, wake up. Like, if you die, or if you wake up on your deathbed and you have no more chance to live, like, you would be content knowing that you're living your life in a way that you would be proud of, that your creator would know you're doing what you can to give back or to inspire, or whatever, that's just, I think that's like my ultimate goal in life, is to live a fulfilling life, so that when I die, I know that I truly contributed to other people for the betterment of the world. Not so that I'm known as some guru, or, whatever. I mean, and that's the weird thing with what I'm doing with coaching and speaking. Obviously, I need to become known in order to be successful. So it's weird. It's like it's I have to constantly tell myself, I'm like, I'm not doing this for popularity. I'm doing this for impact. So it's weird, but you follow me there. It's just all about, I think, where that main source of energy comes from. If it comes from to be the best person, to give back, to inspire others, to make the world a better place, you're going to feel fulfilled. You're going to love people. You're going to live the life in a way naturally, because that's where your main driver is. But if your main driver is like personal gain, you know, financial well-being, stuff like that, which there's nothing wrong with that as long as you're doing the right thing. But if you're going for just for that, that's a dangerous pond to swim in, you know?
Right. Yeah, because like,
And it's kind of deep, but I think it's important.
Yeah, because at surface level, starting a business, people would say you're starting your own business to make money, which that's true. But
Yeah.
to me, like with this welding business, it's not just welding, it's being able to, like, let's say, like, for example, when I first got started, you had that storage rack idea in your head that
Yep.
you're like, how can you make this? So my ability to take an idea that you have and this need and then draw something up and be like, hey, Mike, is this kind of what you're looking for? Is this, what would, help you out? And then you give me the green light, and then, I make it. And it seems like everything that I do, project wise, welding wise, making something, in the middle of doing it, like yesterday, I was doing something, and on one side, I went about doing it one way, and as soon as I got done with it, I was like, wow, I should have done it this way, and that's what I did on the second side, and it was so much easier. But so it's my ability to continue learning as well as giving somebody something that they want and be able to create it, and kind of, I guess, give them my talent, for lack of a better term.
Skill and talent, damn right. Yeah, for
So
sure.
that they have, the ability to fulfill a need or a want or whatever it is. And yeah, that comes with financial reward, but to me, that's just like the cherry on the top. It's being able to give something. Like, yeah,
Yeah.
you can go buy this at Walmart or whatever, but me being able to, like, make it, to me, that just is so much cooler.
Well, and
Selfish.
as your business grows, like, so you're exactly right. Like, in what I'm saying here, as your business grows, your level of impact and the way you impact is different. Like, I remember when I started my landscaping company, when we first started when I first had employees, I remember telling people, like, my favorite thing about running my business right now is being able to give my guys their paychecks, and that was really cool. And you were also hit the head of the nail, where entrepreneurs, they're opportunistic. You see an opportunity and you go after it. Well, that's why you start the business in most cases. I mean, awesome if your idea is, I want to change the world, and then you see an opportunity and then you start the business so that you can chase that opportunity. But I don't think that happens very often. Most, truly, at least in my experience, that's not how it happened. Most people see an opportunity. So, like, for you, you see a need for welding, you get going in it. At first, it's like, yeah, man, like you just said, you were able to design that rack for me, and that's awesome. You're contributing to society, you're helping. That's amazing. But then after a while, after you do 1,000 projects, you start to get used to that. Just like for me, we started making good money. But it was all the same stuff. Like, it was a lot of lawn care, a lot of landscaping, a lot of snow removal, whatever. But and at first it was like, wow, all this money coming in is awesome. I was motivated, but then after a while, I started to take it for granted, right? And I think that's what happens in a lot of businesses is you start to take it for granted. But so then you learn, at least for me, I learned, and if I wanted to be happy, I needed to contribute. So that's what motivated me to, like, scale my company and get out of it. So, like, with your business, Dillon, like right now, and the reason why I'm explaining this is because this is how most businesses are. A person starts the business, they do well to the point where they can hire more employees, they start taking on more work, and then they keep scaling. but then sometimes they don't scale super quick, and so they get overburdened to where they have a lot of work, and then they don't know where they're at. But so they have a lot of work going on. You've got some employees working for you, and it's not as fulfilling as it used to be. You know, at first you're like, wow, this is amazing. I'm helping out Mike. I'm helping out these customers. And then all of a sudden you start to get all these customers. Well, then you start to take them for granted. Well, as you scale out of your business, as you hire that operations manager or that next person on top of you to start managing the crews, then it enables you to take that money and that momentum that your business is building and truly, really impact a lot of people too. You know, so it's just really interesting how that changes throughout time. You see what I mean? And
Yeah.
what happens is, unfortunately, there's a lot of business owners that start their business and then for their entire life are stuck in the operator realm, and then they lose out on they start to take it for granted just giving the paychecks out or just helping out, you know, their customers, and then they start to become unfulfilled and unhappy. So I guess the point I'm trying to make is, in business, you want to have an opportunity. Obviously, you want to be able to have something you can sell in the market that's going to make money, that there's demand for. But then as you get your feet underneath you, as you start to grow and scale that business, continue to figure out ways to give back and to inspire other people, because I believe that's what a business should be. It should be a vehicle for change, you know, something that allows us to be a force for good while also giving us financial reward, time freedom, because we create a product that creates profit that allows us to hire people to manage it, which enables us to have freedom, right? I mean, I think a lot of people, when they get into business, they get into it for the wrong reasons. They don't even think about it from that mindset, and then they never get to that.
Yeah.
You know, to where they're truly giving back. And it takes time. I mean, just to be quite frank, I'm 29. There's not that many 29-year-old business owners that have figured that out. And I'm not, I don't know why. I don't know. Actually, I know I was in fucking hell. I hated my life there for a little while, and I still had a good life. And then I figured it out. Thank God. That's how I learned, you know. Some people have other terrible things happen to them that forces them to learn, you know, like for instance, you, Dillon, your father passing, you've learned some amazing things from that have enabled you to be strong and a great leader and to impact tons of people. So that's awesome, man. And yeah, I just hope anybody listening to this episode, I know I've gotten a bunch from it, so I know anybody that's listened to this entire episode's gotten all sorts of amazing things. But I mean, Dillon, as we wrap down towards the end here, I mean, what are you excited about? Like I mean, you've had such an amazing story, and, you know, it's quite remarkable how you've taken it and poised yourself in the position to be able to impact other people. And, you know, you've started a business, and I mean, what are some of your goals? What are you looking forward to accomplishing with everything you're doing?
I mean, my biggest thing is just being able to grow my business. That's my biggest goal. Because I mean, I've had it for 2 years now, and it's been a slow incline, which is fine. And I've already made it past the first hump, because most people or most small businesses quit after that first year when they haven't gotten what they were looking for. And I was lucky enough to be able to rely on other forms of income to kind of keep me sustained while I'm doing this on the side. But, you know, welding and making stuff is my passion. I don't want it to be the side. I want it to be the focus in terms of
full time
of work and employment, not the sole focus of my life. So just growing that, and, you know, and I'm starting to find out that, you know, my ability to do that is through doing things that, you know, make me uncomfortable, like I said earlier. And you know, I've always tried to just let my work kind of speak for itself, which doesn't always work. Some people see it and they're like, oh man, he's really skilled, you know, he can do this. But other people just don't realize that they need a welder, or something welded or made out of metal, without being, you know, sold it. So growing it from that aspect is my goal. there's some equipment that I want to get, which, takes time, but that'll allow me to do some different things because everyone seems to want, like plasma CNC stuff done. And I don't have a burn table yet. So the goal is to get a plasma
Awesome.
cutter and I can freehand stuff and work from there and work up towards it. I'm in no rush. I got, the rest of my life to kind of chip away at this. If it all of a sudden starts coming quick, then great. But I'm not going to get, deterred if it's still this, slow progress that I've had the 2 years. And then from a personal standpoint, just being able to self-reflect, kind of what you're talking about, being able to like, so once a week I'll watch the video Good on YouTube by Jocko Willink.
Mm, yeah.
So if I can do that, there's no reason why I can't, daily kind of do your wake up thing and try to stay present. Because, I've seen people talk about these different things, but actually being able to apply that discipline to your life is an actual completely different thing. And then just working out, trying to be in better shape and do this long distance running. I want to do 100 miles before I'm 35. I just turned 31 yesterday, so yeah, I
Hell
got
yeah.
plenty.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, man. So I got goals. I got visions, if you will, that things I can see. When I look ahead, and it's just a matter of getting there.
So, dude, everything you told me was awesome, and I'm excited, like for the business and running the 100 mile. Why do you want to do it all, though? Like, what is the main reasoning that's gonna like make you like jump out of bed before your alarm clock goes off? Like what's that? I mean, do you and let me premise with a lot of people don't know. So, and it's one of the things where sometimes it takes a day or a week or a month to know. So if you don't know right now, that's fine too. But do you
No,
do you
so
have a good idea of maybe
yeah, no,
what your
I
why
know
is?
exactly why. So my why, if you will, is a two-parter. So there's the part of like when I get up and go run, or my just drive to work, because not like the physical drive, but like mental drive. It's a grind, man. Like I'll work like 60 hours Monday through Thursday, and then I got to find time to do stuff around the house and uh, have me time
For
and
sure.
relax, plus my business, and so it's a grind. So my ability to stay focused with that and just again fighting those demons, and it's like me versus me. How can I get better than what I was
Mm,
yesterday? Whether it's 0.01% or whatever. And then to that same token, my why for the exterior out is if there's somebody that's our age or younger or older, and they've always wanted to do something but never thought they could, or were nervous or scared or whatever, or bullied, whatever their story is, um, to like see this or see me and be like, hey, he was able to do it, why can't I? And it's not a slight on me or anything like that. Like, I want people to take what I'm doing as inspiration to be able to do something with their lives so they're not filled with regret. Plus, selfishly speaking, there's no better feeling than proving people wrong. I mean, that's just,
yeah. Damn
I don't
right.
think you're human if you don't feel that way. So
Yeah.
um yeah, I
Seriously.
mean, whether it's my students or customers or people that I come across, like, and it doesn't even have to be welding, but find something that you're passionate about. I don't even care what it is, but whatever that is, if you can make it a business, great. But if it's a hobby, then like, if it's gonna be your passion and you love it, like, put everything into it and be
Damn
happy with
right.
what you're doing, because we only get one shot at this, man. So we got to make it count.
Yeah, and if you put everything towards something and you realize, oh, I don't like it as much, or you learn how to, yeah, that's the thing about it. Like I was saying earlier, as long as you're always putting the your foot on gas, all the way, the pedal to the floor, just always working hard and trying your best. And if something doesn't go right, you adapt, and then you go again, and then you adapt, and you go again. Everything's gonna be all right. You know,
Yeah,
that's the
man.
thing.
Like,
Like people get so caught up in life. It's just if you're constantly working on bettering yourself, improving the people you're surrounding yourself with, all that, life's gonna be great. So,
yeah, like
Dylan,
my
I always like at the end just to open up the show. Do you have anything you'd like to leave the listeners with, like any call to actions or anything that you recommend that they follow through with?
yeah. So, um, first off, if nobody's read the book "Can't Hurt Me" by David Goggins, you got to read it. Um,
Great book.
Great book. I haven't read a second one yet, but that's another thing I need to do is get better at reading. But that's another story for another day. Um, there's a quote from a professional wrestler, DDP. He says, "Never underestimate the power you give yourself by believing in yourself." So
Mhm.
if you can't believe in yourself, it's going to be hard for other people to do it. But more importantly, if you believe in yourself, you don't need anything else. If you can believe in yourself and whatever you want to do, do it. It might take a
Amen.
day, it could take 15 years. You're going to get there. You just got to be able to persevere. And I think that's been kind of the title of my story is perseverance, just being able to keep on going. And for me, I look at it like I'm just trying to climb Mount Everest. Sometimes I fall back down and I just try to keep on getting back up, and I don't care how long it takes. It's an endurance race for me. And eventually I'll get to the top, and when I get to the top, I'm going to look up and try to see where I can go next. So that's what I'd leave
I
people with.
love it. Awesome, man. Thanks so much.
You bet.
Um, yeah, great episode today. If anybody has any questions for Dylan or would like to reach out to Kef's Customs, Dylan, should they just reach right out to you on Facebook, or what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Yeah, you can go to Kef's Customs. That's KEFSKUSTOMS on Facebook or Instagram. And then that'd probably be the easiest way. Just reach out to me, whether it's a question, if it's welding related or whatever, or you want something made, great. I'm not here to sell business. I just want to talk and get people pumped up. So, yeah, reach out to me there and
Awesome.
go from there.
Great, man. Well, hey, thanks again for coming on today. We appreciate having you on. That was another episode of The Michael Maloney Show. Thanks for listening. Have a great day.